Hello folks, Chris here from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Welcome to the channel and welcome to my latest action figure review video. And as you can see here, the latest installment is going to be taking a closer look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Snow Serpent figure. So if you're thinking about picking one up for yourself, you know, if you can find one anywhere round and about, then it's my hope that my thoughts today will help you make your mind up as to whether this is the figure for you. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a closer look at the aesthetic and talk about the visual experience of the character. We're going to take a closer look at the articulation and talk about the posing and gameplay fun that you can have with it. And then we're going to talk about the accessories and added value to see whether they enhance our man-child play experiences and our display experiences and all the good stuff that we want to do with our G.I. Joe Classified Series figs. But before I get into all that, travel back in time with me now and join me as I first open up the Snow Serpent and share my initial reaction to the packaging and the figure as I crack the box open. So yeah, unboxing time, folks. Okay, folks, here is the Snow Serpent's packaging, and it's the same packaging setup, layout, motif that we've seen on several waves of G.I. Joe Classified Series. Now we've got the digital render of the figure in the kind of main featured left-hand side here of the box. It is a very dynamic shot of the Snow Serpent making their way down the side of a hill with their snowboard, although I'd be very interested to know what would happen if they fired off their bazooka while they were riding that thing, but there we go. Then little breakaway corner showing off all the goodies and extras, the wonderful painted artwork here as a focus on the right-hand side, logo of the line, G.I. Joe Classified Series, name of the figure, usual routine. I'm going to miss these windowless packages when they go. I think they've really finally found a nice rhythm with them. I'm really into the digital render shots that they put on the front. I think they've got great vibes, great tone to them, but there we go. Then on the back, we can see that it's number 93 in the line figure here with the measuring stick saying 6.4 inches, although the accuracy of that is in question because they've put the little submachine gun and the magazine below his feet, so is he 6.4 inches when he stands on top of his gun? Digital render of all the other bits and bobs, then a couple of breakaway windows highlighting some key features that Hasbro appear to be proud of, which looks like it's the sculpt work on the side of the helmet, the sculpt work on the little, bum bag thing he has on his front there, which is fine. All the legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Then, of course, the data card. So let's have a look at the Snow Serpent skills. All right, then. Well, we've got what appears to be a snowflake pictured on top of a shield, which I believe is the Snow Serpent's fashion line logo. It's called Raise the Brr. They all pitched in together and started their own fashion line. Then this appears to be a hot dog, which I think might be indicating the Snow Serpent squads, when they go on leave, they head out to New Jersey, go take part in the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. They aspire to beat Kobe's record of a couple of years ago. Then a little parachute here, which indicates how Snow Serpents are often employed at the weekends as a little bit of a moonlighting job with custom advertising canopies, when they do those kind of parachute jumps with logos like Coca-Cola on them. And then finally, we've got a snowflake inside a target here, that looks like, which I think might be indicating how the Snow Serpents like to get online and go around trolling liberals on Facebook. So there we go. Then on one of the sides here, we've got a larger version of the painted artwork showing off the detail and quality. I mean, look at that. It's outstanding, isn't it? And then we got barcode, logo, data card again. Usual routine, really, when it comes to the packaging. Right, let's get this bad boy open. I've already popped the tape at the bottom, and I suspect we'll have the weapons locker. Oh, that's a bit tight in there. Yeah, there you go. A larger weapons locker to accommodate all the extra goodies. Name of the figure, number 93 on the top. And then the Snow Serpent there in the cardboard frame with the artwork behind him. Let's get into the locker here, crack that open. Oh, we got two baggies with this bad guy. And, of course, paperwork. All right, I'm going to get this one open across the top here like a tomato sauce sachet. Tip these goodies out. Oh, loads of stuff in there. Look at that. All out, yeah. Backpack, bazooka, goggles, all the missiles that go in the backpack. Oh, I started playing straight away there. Stop, Chris. Little submachine gun, some magazines, a little dagger, a few pistols, a rifle, a thing. Oh, I know what that is. That goes on the back of the bazooka. More rockets, 2 snow boots, a snowboard, all lovely jubbly. So what's in this one? Gonna open this one up like a mustard packet. And that's the wolf cape and headrest. There we go. All right, let's just get some scissors for these. Right. And a little bit of snipping to get the figure out. There we go. And here we go. Here's the Snow Serpent with an absolute wealth of goodies there. Ooh, look at that. Absolute wealth of goodies to play around with. So I'm going to go away, get some man-child playtime, and Future Chris will be back in a couple of seconds to share some review thoughts. So stick around. I'll be back in 3, 2, 1. Okay then, folks, let's talk about the aesthetic qualities of the figure then. What's the visual experience like? And here is the Snow Serpent as he came out of the cardboard frame in the box there. Soak it all in, cast your eyeball over him head to toe. And he's certainly a very striking figure, the least of which is because he is, you know, a cold weather warfare figure, and the guys dressed all in white head to toe have a habit of standing out, have a great deal of shelf presence. But that's fine, you know, because that makes him very cohesive with the rest of the kind of Arctic combat folks that we've had in the G.I. Joe Classified series to date. But as just a general standing figure, I think he comes together well, and it is very appealing on the eye. Bringing the Snow Serpent a little bit nearer to the camera, we can see some of the finer sculpted details and textural details that exist on the figure that bring it to life, give it some depth, and help us out with some of our narrative storytime playtime with the figure. The helmet is nice, lovely sculpt there, nice contour lines, extra details like these earwarmery bits, the face mask there, you can see all the details in there, the goggles with the brown trimming, the leather brown trimming around the sides. We can see these contour lines and sculpting lines on the helmet itself, if you know what I mean. So that's all lovely jubbly. No facial expression there to bring it to life, so he needs to look suitably aggressive and menacing without any additional facial expressions, and I think the helmet is definitely achieving that. I must confess, I'm a little bit in two minds about the brown leather goggle area there. It's reminiscent of something that I can't quite put my finger on. There's an anime that I watched many, many years ago with these kind of fascistic World War II style Nazi troopers, but it was set in the future, I think. I can't remember, but they had helmets and they had goggles that looked just like this. So they certainly add to the menacing, evil feel of the figure, but sometimes I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I like those goggles, and sometimes I look at it and I'm like, not so sure. No, I flip-flop on them, and I can't quite articulate why I do like them sometimes, don't like them at other times. But it may be all academic, because when I come to accessories, I'll be talking about the additional set of goggles as an accessory that's available with the figure that give it a different aesthetic quality anyway. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think of the brown leather goggles? Got the lovely textured detail in the fur sections of the uniform. Got this piece across the front of the neck and over the shoulders, then the top shoulder piece attached to the arm here, and then of course the wrist and hand sections there on the glove and gauntlet areas, which are nice. Obviously makes sense for a cold weather warfare specialist, but also a nice nod to the vintage look and feel of the character. These have been brought further to life and given further depth by putting a bit of a wash across the fur areas there, like a grey browny smooshiness. He's been getting a bit mucky while out on manoeuvres, the Snow Serpent, which is great. You know, really adds to the narrative storytelling of the figure, which I appreciate. I suppose the only thing I would say is that it's a bit inconsistent. Like, we've got a really great wash across this section at the front, but then the shoulder pieces, it's kind of more at the back here, and there's kind of a white bit there. The wrist areas, you can see you've got a bit up the back there. Can you see the lighting's making it difficult to see, but you've got a bit up the back there and on the back of the hand, but then like a really bright white section on the inside of the wrist. Let's find my focus. There we go, on the inside of the wrist there. So it's a little bit inconsistently applied, which is a shame. Lots more details further down the body to bring it to life. Got the paint applications here, the blue zips, and then the Snow Serpent insignia and the Cobra insignia on the sleeves there. We've got, this is his parachute pack on the front in the blue, with lots of sculpted detail in the straps and on the pouch, and then a couple of paint applications on the buckles and the pull cord there, which is nice, giving it a little bit more flavour, and that continues down into the figure. Got the painted belt buckle there on the blue belt, a little paint application on this ball protector bit on the front there. That's obviously for his parachute, I'm joking, on the front there, but it continues down this sculpting quality and then into the holsters and the straps around the holsters. So yeah, that usual attention to detail is present in that space. And then the core uniform, just up to the usual standard that we expect from G.I. Joe Classified Series. We've got creases and folds and bunchy uppy bits down the bottom of the trouser legs here, which is just giving it that kind of fabric-y texture, that fabric sense to the character and making it feel like it's real clothing, which is lovely to see. In the waist joint here, I'll obviously talk about that when it comes to articulation, but you can see mine's got a little bit of a gap. There's a little bit of lift between this waist section here and the main torso, which is causing a little bit of a gap here, which in some poses I was getting in. You can see it more around the back here there. Some of the poses I was getting him in was making him look a bit like weird and oddly shaped, like he'd had a severe injury, which was a shame. So I have to kind of bring the this sort of nappy section up to the top, and that's another interesting point. I think this may have been the case on Snow Job, but I didn't notice it at the time. If you look in there, you can see there's two sections. You got the figure articulation, the main figure underneath, and then this piece is like a piece over the top, which is curious. So it's a thumbs up from me on the Snow Serpents aesthetic visual experience. It's got everything you could want, really, if you're a vintage fan. It's tipping the hat suitably in the direction of the vintage nostalgia, but it's been modernised. It's got some nice depth and flavour to it. It's been realised in the 6-inch really well. So, yeah, no complaints on that front, and I feel like it's very cohesive, fits in very well with the cold weather warfare kind of theme that's growing in G.I. Joe Classified Series right now. So yeah, definitely a thumbs up on that front. All right then, folks, time to move on to the next day and talk about articulation. And it's largely speaking the standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation we've come to know and love, but it does have a couple of differences in there. I'll do a quick rundown for anyone who's new around these parts and has never had a G.I. Joe Classified Series figure in hand to know what I mean when I say standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation, but I'll also point out some of the more unique elements that I've clocked as I've been playing around with it. So starting above the shoulders here, it's the ball at the top of the net, ball at the bottom of the net, which gives us good down, good up, tilt, swivel, all the way around, full Exorcist 360, good range of motion in the head area, absolutely. Then moving down into the shoulders, we've got the hinge in the armpit, giving us the T-shape there. Interesting change here in the shoulder area. So it's not the G.I. Joe Classified Series butterfly joint, it's a ball joint in the shoulder socket there, somewhat akin to the McFarlane Toys style. Now, Snow Job had that too. In fact, I think this is largely reuse of the Snow Job book. So Snow Job had that too, and I didn't really clock it fully with Snow Job in hand, but it really stands out on the Snow Serpent. Let me know in the comments down below, are you a ball joint person, or are you a butterfly joint person? I think I might be more butterfly joint. I haven't fully made my mind up yet, though. Then we've got the swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep. Nice pinless double elbow getting you up to there. Then standard G.I. Joe Classified Series hands with the pins, giving us the swivel in the wrist. And both hands have got a hinge up and down. However, I've noticed that the up and down hinge is a little bit obstructed by the fur cuffs here on his uniform. And so I can't quite get the hinges to go as far up and down as I would like. We've got a diaphragm cut across the chest here. You can't really see it because of all this gear on his front, but it's not the standard diaphragm torso cut that you get with G.I. Joe Classified Series. It's the swivelly one that's like was on Bazooka. Sorry, folks, I've just totally had a brain blank on what the technical term is for that. But it gives a bit of upper torso swivel there, as you can see, and some decent crunch forward and some decent pull back. And then I mentioned about the waist swivel on the figure a bit earlier on. Mine is very gummy. Very gummy. I've experienced this a few times recently with G.I. Joe Classified Series figures, so I've found that to be a really difficult joint to use when I've been trying to put him in some more of the ambitious poses I've been trying for. Down into the leg area, it's the standard drop-down joint on the G.I. Joe Classified Series figs. You can't see it quite as much as you normally do because of the way that they've designed this overlay section. Yeah, see that wobble there? It's not cool, is it? Anyway, moving down into the groin area, it's the standard G.I. Joe Classified Series drop-down joint. You can't quite see it as much as you normally do because of this overlay section on the sculpt there, but it is there. It gives you a fairly decent forward. This overlay does get in the way of giving him a nice full forward kick, but it doesn't obstruct the ballet splits, which of course we all need in our figures. Everyone's putting their G.I. Joe Classified Series into Russian ballet poses. Thigh cut there at the top of the thigh, giving us a swivel. Pinless double knee, which gets us up to there. And again, the reuse of snow job. So the boot swivel is underneath the bottom edge of the trouser leg there, rather than the boot over the top. So it takes a little bit of work to manipulate that swivel in there, but it does exist. And then the standard hinge and rocker on the feet for your foot articulation and your ankle articulation. So the articulation is fine. It's fine. I'm going to give it a thumbs up, but I am a little unhappy that this is yet another G.I. Joe Classified Series figure that I've had with some sort of QC issue in the articulation area, the waist swivel. Look, you can see it there. See the size of the gap? It's misaligned. It's very gummy, not very usable at all, and the heat doesn't appear to have helped. The ball joint shoulders, again, I'll offer my comment section for you to share your thoughts. I'd be interested to know what people think of that, so I'll reiterate that from earlier on. The diaphragm cut, I like that better than the kind of upside down U cut sometimes. So it's all fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's just fine. It's G.I. Joe Classified Series, but QC issues, man. Ugh. On to the accessories and added value then, folks, and there's a bit of ground to cover here, so I'll just whip through a few kind of standard bits quickly and then get into the more unique elements. I'll start with his weaponry selections. He's got this kind of rifly doodad here, which is fine, single molded piece of plastic, well sculpted, got some interesting details. The magazine comes in and out if that's your thing, so that's all good. Not quite as flimsy and wobbly as some weapons we've experienced lately, but it does still have a bit of wibbly wobbly flexibility, but it's cool, it's fine, it's nice looking rifle, works for me. Then we have the little submachine gun type thing here, which is, again, fine, single piece of molded plastic in black, some sculpted details in there to bring the weapon to life. Yet again, removable magazine, all very exciting. This one I think has got perhaps a bit more personality than that one, but that's okay. What we haven't got is weapons storage anywhere, so whichever one you've got him armed, the other one is in the bits box in the meantime, which is a bit of a disappointment because they're usually pretty good at giving you weapon on-figure weapon storage at G.I. Joe Classified Series. We then have two of these little G.I. Joe Classified Series snub pistols. Once again, black single molded piece of plastic with some sculpted details. They look good enough. They're nice. They're, they do the job. These do have some on-figure storage with the holsters on either of the two thighs there. Usual routine. Just slide them in, Then we have the little dagger, which again is, I think we've seen this one before. It's come up, sculpted details. As I've said with the bladed weapons before, when it's just a single black piece of plastic, I'm a bit disappointed. I'd have preferred it to have had a metallic paint job on the blade, but it is what it is. This is usable, certainly with the figure. However, unless I'm losing my mind, and I have scrutinised the figure a great deal over this last week since I received it, I can't find anywhere to store that on the figure, which is very rare. It's very rare not to have a little sheath around the ankle or wrist or on the main body of the figure to slip the knife into. So let me know if I'm missing something, if there's like a really obvious place to store the knife, but I can't find it, which struck me as very odd. Then we have the bazooka, which is a reuse of Bazooka's bazooka, but repainted. So it's black plastic in the main body, got the grey paint applications on the padding, shoulder padding section, and then a blue strap on it with the same removable section at the end for an extra bit of missile loading stroke storage. This is fine. I'm not the biggest fan of this, if I'm being honest. I've found it a bit of a fuss and a faff to get in and out of his hands. I find this strap gets in the way more than anything else. It's yeah. And I knock this section off all the time, that little peg that goes into the end there with this supposed to be a little clip down here. Just doesn't really do it for me. It doesn't work for me. So, yeah, not the biggest fan of it, but it is what it is. And it sort of nods towards the vintage figure because it used to have a little missile launcher thing, but sort of doesn't. So I don't know. I'm in two minds about that. But that leads us neatly into the backpack, which is once again reuse of Bazooka's backpack, but with a repaint job. So we've got the black and the grey colour scheme here to go with the Snow Serpent. And so this has got the missile storage slots there at the top, and then we've got the missile units. Rockets? Rockets? You say rockets for a bazooka? You wouldn't say missiles, would you? Missiles are massive. They're like, in silos that get fired by people with red buttons on consoles. So that must be a rocket, not a missile. But yeah, you got 4 of those, and they go into the storage area there. And then we've got this little hook section at the bottom, which hooks into the carry handle of the bazooka. So you've got on-figure storage option for the bazooka there, because you can hang it like that, and then use the peg on the back of the backpack to peg it into this peg hole. There we go. Mentioned earlier that there's a separate set of goggles that come with the figure. These are a large rubbery plastic loop with blue in the main sort of glass section of the goggles, and then black for the sculpt. It's got the sculpted details in there. You can see the strap lines on that, which is nice, and that just fits over the top of his head, like so. There you go, like that. They're a little bit loose. They're a bit loosey-goosey around the back there. I don't know if you can see that, where I'm moving my finger and it's moving up and down, which is what it is. But, you know, you can put it over the eyes, you can have it resting across his forehead, or his helmeted forehead, whatever suits your fancy. But yeah, that's a nice look. Then we have a couple of snow boots. These are the same ones that came with Snow Job. Got the pegs at the back of the snow boot there to go in the heel pegs on the bottom of his feet, the peg holes in the bottom of his feet, and then obviously the little toe sections to stick his toes into. They're fine. Again, very on brand, just generally useful if you're doing a little kind of snowy diorama display photograph type thing, and you want him to look like he's wading through the snow, then, you know, you got the gear to do so. Of course, what the Snow Serpent also needs is a means of being mobile across the snow, more mobile than the snow boots will allow, and that's where this snowboard comes into play. So we've got the moulded snowboard shape across the main body of the snowboard, and then the 2 foot sections here. You can see you've got the nice sculpted detail to make it look like they've got little grippy foot panels at the bottom. Obviously got the pegs from a practical point of view to fit into the peg holes at the bottom of the feet. The Cobra logo here, paint application across the top, which is nice. Then if I flip it over, you can see we've got this cool little paint job on the bottom there with the Snow Serpent insignia and this kind of snowy camouflagey colour painted on it. This is fun. It's a fun accessory. I found it a little bit challenging to get him into some really ambitious sort of snowboardy poses. He's somewhat kind of restricted by the placement of the foot panels and the pegs, and so it's kind of a bit decided for you in a way. I've had to really fiddle and manipulate to get something a bit more exciting happening in that area there, but I think it's a fun accessory. It's a laugh, it's a giggle. It's got some some photography opportunity that might bring you some joy. So yeah, that's nice, and I like the kind of on-brand extreme sports paint job on the bottom side of the snowboard. It's a nice touch. And then finally we have the piece everybody's been talking about, which is of course the wolf headrest and cloak, cape type of thing. Every time I see this, I think the Snow Serpent shouldn't be dressed in white, should be dressed in black, and living in barracks next to a very large ice wall. Let me know if you get the reference. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I get what they were going for, and it's well sculpted for sure. You can see the sculpted detail on the wolf fur. There's paint applications on the headrest. You can see the nose and the teeth and the gums with the paint applications there, which is nice. There's the different shades of grey in the cape and on across the top of the headrests. Forehead there, which is nice. Hook's got a little kind of hooky over bit that comes over the top of the Snow Serpent's body. It's interesting, it's fun. It is definitely designed to bring a bit of character, personality, and a certain sort of narrative storytelling to the figure. You sort of hook it over the top of his shoulders and then peg that peg into the backpack peg hole across the back there. I found it to be a little bit of a loose fit there. You can see, or maybe you can, I don't know, the peg doesn't go all the way into the back, so it's a bit of a loosey-goosey fit. It's a tiny bit of a faff and a fiddle to get it just right. And then I've just been parting the jawline and sliding that over the top like so. And then one interesting additional element on the back of the cape, they've put a second peg hole so that you can still mount the backpack on the figure while he is wearing his wolf gear. You know, I gotta say, I'm not the biggest fan of the figure with the wolf headrest and the wolfy cloak, the fur cloak. Just the aesthetic of it doesn't suit me. I'd rather a much more kind of straight up Snow Serpent trooper wading through the snow, so it doesn't appeal to me a great deal. It's not that they've done a bad job on it, I don't think, although it is a little bit jankily implemented. You have to fiddle about to get it looking just so. But yeah, horses of courses thing just doesn't appeal. May appeal to you. Again, I'll invite you into the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on that. But yeah, it's not really for me. So yeah, it's the accessories wise, it's a funny one really, because I'm certainly going to give it a thumbs up in terms of the stuff that's been thrown in, although we could argue that it should be included because this is a higher price point figure than your mainline figures. But I do question how much of this accessory selection I'm actually going to find myself using. And you know what? I mean, look at it there now. It just seems like a very busy character. And I think I'm going to find myself using the goggles, the rifle, the submachine gun on occasion, the knife on occasion. And that's it. I can't see myself using the bazooka and the wolfy stuff very often. So it's an interesting one. I'm a little bit divided because I'm like, yeah, absolutely, keep throwing stuff in with the figures, Hasbro. But then I'm also like, but you should be throwing stuff in that I think I would be using more. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm going to give it a thumbs up for the volume of accessories, but I'm going a little bit more in the middle in terms of the actual added value. I just don't know if it adds to my playtime experience enough, you know. So there we go. Okay, there's the accessories. So here's the Snow Serpent going around on the turntable, and this is the point in the video, folks, where I normally would say, yeah, I recommend this figure. If you think about picking one up, go get one, or I'm not so sure, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And frankly, I can't do that today because I haven't actually made my mind up. I've had the figure for a week to the day. And I played around with it a little bit, but I have to confess I've not been drawn to it quite the same way as I have been other figures of late. It's not sung to me the same way some other G.I. Joe Classified series figures have done. And I do wonder if that's just because we've had some particularly exciting figures in the selection. But I've got to be honest, I'm getting Big Ben and Range Viper and Lowlight and Firefly and even Tunnel Rat out and down and having a play with them and taking pictures with them more than I am doing the Snow Serpent, which is really, really interesting. And I can't quite put my finger on it, other than to say I think it might just feel a little pedestrian after having such a unique run of stuff. I don't know. Add into that the fact that I'm just not fully convinced by the accessory selection. You know, I think the higher price point with the extra accessory selection for what is essentially, as I said earlier, a range of accessories that I don't think I'm going to find myself using a great deal means that I feel like he's a bit overpriced. You know, it's like, yeah, I've got all this great stuff, but I'm just not using it. So, yeah, I'm in two minds. But fundamentally, there's nothing wrong with the figure. Articulation is there, other than some QC issues. Aesthetically, it's great. Vintage nostalgia nods with a modern twist. It's got all the stuff I look for, but I'm still really undecided. So get in the comments down below and help me make my mind up. Yeah. All right then, boys and girls, well, that brings me to the end of the review. I hope you found that somewhat useful. If you did, then please take a moment to head on down below and do the whole, pressing YouTube buttons and whatnot. So give us a thumbs up if it was useful. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And, if you're loaded, then hit me up with a super thanks. It would be gratefully received and would help contribute to the ongoing success of the channel and help me diversify the range of stuff I'm buying and reviewing. And here we go, I've done it again. The Snow Serpent is about to have his back to the camera just as I'm about to wrap up the video. So, do you know what, this time? What a lovely cannon you have, Snow Serpent. Let's end on the bazooka. See you later, folks.